All right, welcome back, and thank you for another joining me for another interview. Today, I have with me the lovely Helene Udy.
Hello.
Hi. Well, first of all, thank you for taking the time to do this. When did you initially discover a passion for acting? Like, what drew you to the industry?
Well, actually, my grade six. Ooh, I gotta make sure my phone is off. My grade six theater teacher, Ellen Holden, uh, wrote a play about a princess who fell in love with a prince, and she could only speak French, and he could only speak English, and at the end, they meet. And as I was the only person in class, I think that could speak French fluently, I was kind of a shoe-in for the part. Lucky me. And uh, it's a long story, but put it this way, I really one day understood what connection with the audience was, because there was a mistake that happened. The actor lost his lines, and I started saying his lines for him because I was concerned that this. I was only 10 years old, that the story would continue. Um, and in trying to help the audience out, I made a very good connection with them, and they started laughing, and I got hooked on that connection. So that was really, And the thing is, let's be honest, I couldn't play the guitar well, though I tried. I had first wanted to be a ballerina, and my ballet teacher let me know in no uncertain terms that that was not my calling. So I have very few options left. Yeah.
Do you have any specific type of a character you look for in your roles? Like, what appeals to you as a character that you want to try out for that character?
Well, I have to say, as time goes on, the easiest and most fun characters to play are dastardly characters. I love playing evil characters. Uh, I don't know why. It's just cathartic because I'm not an evil person by any stretch of the imagination. So those are fun. But I don't look for characters like that. Really, honestly, the characters that I would prefer to be playing are characters that have depth and have pain uh, and have a message. I mean, I think the most iconic character that I ever played that was exactly the kind of character I want to play was the character of Myra on Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman. Misunderstood characters that come from difficulty, and it's my chance as an actor to illuminate a part of society that other people may have strong opinions about, to add some humanity to a character that other people may judge very harshly. uh, those are characters that are very attractive to me. I suppose it's because those are the characters that I started to get cast in, but I had an attraction to them. And for better or worse, I was never a girl next door. So I was never asked to be the girl next door. so, so I guess
Yeah,
I guess I'm not the girl next door is the thing. Yeah.
yeah. Like on set, like, how do you stay in character? Like, what do you do to like prepare yourself for your role when you're not specifically in the shot?
Well, a lot of my homework actually takes place before we even start shooting. The thing about the thing about a movie or any kind of a project is, they mix things up. You never know what scene you're going to shoot, so you have to know what happened before and where you're going. And those are the two most important things about maintaining a through line for a character. So I have to do a lot of breakdown and a lot of thought process about what are my goals in that scene, and I write those things down. There's usually something that I want, and there's usually something preventing me, some reason I'm that is challenging me to achieve that goal. And with those two things to play with in a scene, if I have them written in my notes on the side, I can really just zone in on those things, because uh, the most important thing, I guess, for me in the moment is to be as real as possible. And that's, you know, it's hard with, horror genre movies, because some of them are very tongue in cheek, and so you have to play with the level of that. How far can you go? And I certainly like being ridiculous. I enjoy that. I'm a clown in at heart. But so you're always playing with the balance of it. Like uh, I just finished a movie. Well, I didn't finish it. I finished it over the summer, and it was a very dark movie called Reflections of a Broken Memory. And the director sets the tone. The director sets the tone, and then the actor that I'm playing with sets the tone, and then it's very, very easy. So if I'm working with it with really creative directors, uh, directors that really have a vision, it is just so easy because everybody's in this spirit on set. And I have to say that with independent movies, more often than not, people haven't lost their joy about movie making. It's taken them a long time to get to the set, to get financially solvent so that the production can go. So there's an alchemy on a set, on independent sets, that I adore. This is a long answer and it's kind of winding but circuitous, but there you go. That's my answer. How's that?
Oh, no worries. Yeah, be as long-winded as possible. My Bloody Valentine. I mean, yes, I have to ask about that. It's one of my personal favorites.
Yay.
Yeah. What appealed to you about Sylvia?
Oh, there's another thing that I really, really like. I love innocence. Uh, I remember like this take on the stairs. I don't know if you'll even remember this scene, but for some reason it stands out to me uh, when uh, when we're being told that the dance is off, and I just remember being really sad about it. Oh, the dance is, damn, we feeling that sort of, I don't know. There was something beautifully innocent about Sylvia that I adored, and part of it at the time was that I was innocent. I was only 16 years old, so I could really appreciate her. She was a gregarious character. She was a hopeful character. Um, she was not having the kind of trouble that our lead actress was having, like Laurie's character. She was too young for all of that. She was just at the beginning of love. It was so sweet. I love that character.
Uh, so, what were your first impressions seeing the makeup for the kill? Seeing it's like one of the most iconic kills in the genre.
Oh, you mean my body cast and everything?
Yeah, because I would imagine that they would have had to have done something to match the body to you, correct?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean that's this was my second movie, and they flew me to Los Angeles to get my body cast made by the Berman Brothers, a very famous special effects group. This movie was funded by Paramount, so they had a bit of money. I mean, they didn't have a lot of money compared to big budget movies, but they had enough money to do that kind of thing. So it was a thrill for me. I got flown to Los Angeles for the first time in my life. I've been on a plane maybe twice before, so this was maybe my third time being on a plane. Um, and got to meet the Berman brothers, who had the day previous had just finished David Bowie's cast for The Man Who Fell to Earth. So I was like in heaven. I'm like, oh my god! And seeing that body, sort of half body, really hanging around on set was pretty like woo. It was an incredible likeness. It was a really good likeness.
Hmm.
And I do remember now, I had to like hold my face, like I had to do that, so that they could do the cast. And they were lovely, the Berman brothers. They just talked to me the whole time. They taught me through it. Yeah. It was lucky because the reality is that even then I had claustrophobia, but they were so adept at keeping my mind occupied that I didn't suffer from claustrophobia, but it was, my whole face and body were covered in a cast. And then from that cast, they poured the silicone or however they do it. But yeah, it was a pretty lifelike, yeah. Very, very.
I mean, that would probably explain a lot of how its iconicness is, how close it is, because it's still hard for me to tell when the switch over is.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because it's my face.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's exactly because I'm saying like that's like one of the few things that I really enjoy about it is that it's so hard to tell the switch over. So
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Yeah, that's
yeah.
good to know.
So speaking of claustrophobia, what was it like shooting in the mines?
So everybody always asks me this question. The reality is I never my character the mine the coat rack the coat room that I got killed in was actually above ground. It wasn't in the mine. It was it staged? No, it really was the coat room. It was the miners' changing place, but it that was above ground. And then they'd go into the mines. They'd already have all their clothes on. So I never got to shoot in the mine. It was very claustrophobic, I hear, and I've heard a lot of stories about it. But I feel like I've missed out, like taking my life in my hands. I didn't take my life in my hands, so I never got down into the mine. But there is a funny story about that, and that is that this was an old mine, and it was chosen because it was run down. It was closing actually, and I think it was closing because it had been dangerous or proud that to have us, that they had repainted and cleaned the mine up so it looked pristine and it didn't look anything like George Mahalka's vision. So they had to like rush around and stress the mine down again. Um, so that was a traumatic moment for the crew, and I'm trying to think what other stories I heard. Everybody jokes about the fact that they were the canaries, that because there was no canaries in the coal mine, so basically that they were the only canaries in the coal mine. So maybe it's a good thing that I wasn't there. I don't know.
Uh, so shortly afterward, you worked on Incubus. What can you tell us about that?
I can tell you a wonderful story. It was a tiny little part. I had auditioned for a larger role, and and uh, I was a very, very dedicated actor, very, very dedicated. I didn't care what size the role was. I was going to put my heart into it. And I had auditioned for another role, um, and I remember like it involved some screaming and terror or whatever. Um, and I remember the bemused look of the director after I finished my audition. I think he was just like, "Wow, she's definitely into it. I don't know how I'm going to break it to her that she didn't get this job." Again, I was really young at the time, so I was probably too young for the role that I was auditioning for anyway. But he was sweet enough to give me like a very, very tiny part. But what was wonderful about it is that I played a nurse in the hospital, and John Cassavetes, as you know, was the lead in this horror film. Poor John. Um, and you got the sense, and his wife was with him. So these two like movie icons were. I was hanging out with them, and I knew who John Cassavetes was. So I was really quite stunned. I was a little breathless around him, and he was such a lovely fellow. But I got this terrible sense, and I could be reading into it, just that what hardship was it that brought them to doing a horror movie? You know what I mean? Falling to that degree. I mean, this is an independent film genius. This is a masterful creator, and he's doing a horror movie. It's just. But anyway, so the story is. I'm sorry, this is a long lead up to the story, but the story is this: is that sure enough, I did the scene where I'm in the scene with John Cassavetes, and I just have to say some word to him. I have to hand him something, and he looks at the report, and he goes to the people beside him. He goes, "Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I can't remember their names. Walk with me. I have to tell you that what we have found is a three-spronged sperm." And that was his line. Ladies and gentlemen, I have to tell you, yeah. that we have found a three-spronged sperm. And John Cassavetes could not get that bloody sentence out of his lips without just falling on the ground laughing. Like he would just start, and then he would just like lose it. And I think we must have done it like, I don't know, 20 times, way too many times. Um, and by the end of it, nobody in the room could keep a straight face. We were all like, we'd all been infected. And so we were all like, I'm handing it to him, I'm trying to keep it together. And he's like running, walking with them and everybody. That we're just hoping against hope. Make a long story short, that never ended up in the movie because we never got it. It was one of those, it was like almost painful laughter. Like once it's just a thing that sometimes happens on set. It's a very, very dangerous thing that happens. But I think it was also if you look deeply into it, it was it. I can imagine that he was reflecting on that sentence that he had been reduced to a character that had to say this thing. And I think he was like having a nervous breakdown before me. You know what I mean? It was a really intense and beautiful and sad and funny thing that happened. I've never told that story before, so I'm glad you asked me.
Cool. So, she shortly afterwards started working in soaps and sitcoms. Was that a way to avoid typecast, or like
Oh
try
God,
something
no,
new?
that was no, it was me just trying to get a job. Oh my gosh, I had no control over my career. I still don't really have any control over my career, but no, no, no. So after that, so that was those movies were shot in Canada. And I did a lot of work in Canada. I moved from Montreal when I was 17, I think. I moved to Toronto. Uh, I I uh, I took a short trip to New York to see if I could get an agent at about the age of 17. I met up with David Gus of the Don Buchwald agency, very famous. He had Kathleen Turner at the time. I didn't know. I just, and uh, that's a long story. I'm not going to bother you with, but I was just knocking on all the doors at the age of 17. I was there with my friend Karen Stevens, who was in Pinball Summer, and we thought, we'd just go and check it out. And there were all these brass knockers on every door in New York, the agents, and it says, "Do not knock." Like, you know, do not, under any circumstance, bother this agency. I was like, what are they going to do? I'm from Canada. Or they shoot me? I don't know. I was 17. I'm like, whatever. So of course I did knock. And I was just really, really lucky that on one occasion that I knocked, and I'm also 5'1". I was 17 years old. I probably looked like I was 12. David Gus answered the door. And I just, you just know when it's a good thing. You just know when somebody's looking at you and you somehow, I tended to amuse people quite a bit when I was young. A, because I was tiny, and B, because I looked a whole lot younger than I was, and I was very spunky. And I've kind of grown into myself now. People don't find me quite as amusing as they did when I was a child, but when I was a child, it was a good thing. Now it's kind of like people. I think I'm not quite as amusing as I was. Anyway, I haven't changed much, but the age has flipped the channel a little bit. But he was just adorable, and he got me right away. I had 3 lines on my resume, and he said, "Yeah, I'll take you." And I was like, "Oh, that's easy." And I left New York without even telling him. And I went, "No, I'm too young to go to New York." I was 17. I really was too young for New York. I mean, what was I thinking? And I spent 4 additional years in Toronto from 17 to 21. And at 21, I came back to New York. And I'm going to cut this short to say, lucky for me, David Gus still wanted me at the age of 21. And so at 21, I moved to New York. And there's a long, funny story about how I ended up seeing him again. I had to lie to get into the agency because by then I figured out how lucky I'd been. I was like, what was I thinking? I should have stayed. You don't know when things happen easily. You don't have the perspective that you got lucky and that you should move on your luck before your luck is out. But 21 isn't that much older than 17, so it wasn't like I was suddenly aging myself out of the market. I was still a young kid, and he did take me on again. and he got me that soap. So it had nothing, he I got the audition for that soap, and got the part, but it had nothing to do with me being selective or me trying to like change my career up. It was just me trying to get a job. And I was lucky that I got one. Yeah.
So, was there any kind of a unique difference moving from film to like weekly recurring television work?
Nobody's ever asked me that question. Oh, I mean, there's a massive difference between working on a movie and working on a television show. Um, Specifically with that show, I was in New York at the age of 21. I looked like I was about 16, and I was very, very lonely. I was alone. I was pursuing my acting career with a vengeance, but all my friends were back home. They were like, in college, partying, or doing whatever the kids that are, 21 do. And I was alone in New York by myself, so it was very, very lonely. Um, and I was on the soap at the same time as Meg Ryan. She was adorable and she was really sweet. Um, but essentially, all of these people that I was working with were New Yorkers. So they had these very entrenched lives. And I was a transplant. I didn't know anybody or anything. So it was a very lonely existence being on that soap. And I didn't work I didn't work every day of the week. I worked maybe 1 or 2 days a week. My character was just a growing character, and then of course they fired her. That's a whole other long story. I won't bore you. We'll be here for years. But I just remember feeling very much uh, like alienated. People always had plans on the weekends. I didn't. It was COVID times for me. Even back then, I was alone with myself most of the reason.
Hmm.
Oh, life. But then I
Hmm.
moved to Los Angeles. And I was like, oh, life isn't miserable. It was New York. So it was loneliness in New York at the age of
Hmm.
21. But television shows, you have an opportunity to really make friends. And, like for Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman, there are people there that are still dear to my heart, and you develop a character, and that character grows in you for years and years, and it's a completely different experience. Um, it has its really positive sides, but I like movies too because movies are very intense, uh, short periods of time, and you really have to jump in full force to create that character and make that connection with the actor. And always at the end of a movie, you always think, "Oh yes, we're such good friends. I'm going to see you again." And everybody knows this about movies. We all do it every time. We exchange phone numbers and everything. Fall madly in love with each other. But as soon as you go back home, you're like, ah, it's hard. It's hard to maintain relationships. And generally speaking, your friends become Facebook friends at best. I have a few good friends like Jake Zelch from Mia Moss. He's the director of Mia Moss. That I really do. He lives, outside the state. I can't tell you which state he lives in because I always forget. But he lives far away. But he and I maintain. So I do maintain friendships with some people of the many, many, many movies that I've done. But in general, film is a very intense experience, and then and everybody knows this thing about postpartum depression. Like, once you leave a movie set, for about 3 days after, you're wandering around in a fog and you feel kind of sad and you just feel like you lost a child, and you have to recuperate because it is tremendously intense working on films. Yeah.
Yeah. So, more recent.
Ask me one question, I'll fill it by half an hour. I'm
Oh,
sorry,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
I was gonna say,
No, it's
you're
like, yeah.
well, you were talking about being on set with like a bunch of different people and like forging connections. Like, do you have any specific ones in like mind, or is there like a specific film that you really, really like connected to each of the cast or crew, or?
Well, the last film that this does keep coming up in my memory, and that is because it happened recently. But I'm really excited to see this movie, Reflections of a Broken Memory, because I played the lead character's mother, and we have a challenging relationship, to say the least. I don't want to give too much away, and the intense experience that occurred when we were doing our scenes together was epic. It's the kind of thing you hope for. You kind of not even sure what happened after they call cut. It is so, you're so present in that moment, and there's so much happening, and you get magical moments like that like once in a lifetime. But that movie, yeah. So that's that movie. But I'm very good friends in my heart with all of the cast of Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman. Um, I don't see them very often. I would say if I talk to anybody, maybe it's William Shockley more than anybody. But it's been many years since that show was on. Uh, but I got to know those characters. I love Joan L. Allen too. Uh, uh, there's nobody that I don't like. I like Jane is wonderful. I have a real tender place in my heart for Frank Collison, who played my husband on the show, uh, because I spent years with those people, and I spent years with those characters, and uh, they blend. When you're doing a television show, you spend so much time with these people in and out of character that the character actually blends into real life, and your relationships kind of blend a little bit. Like it's hard to, the edge is fuzzy, you know.
Mm.
Um, Other people I adore. The lead, everybody. It's legendary. Everybody knows that the lead, all of the cast from My Bloody Valentine are really sincerely dear friends of mine. Those are people I could call up in a pinch and say I'm in trouble, and one of them would probably rise to the occasion. Those are like brothers. They're like blood to me. I'm especially great friends with Lori Hallier, the lead in that movie, and Rob Stein, the guy that played my boyfriend in that movie. Um, but all of those people, Jim Murchison, Tom Kovacs, and George Mahalka, the director, those people are like family to me. So that was an early budding experience. So I guess I'm not. I've done so many movies, though. It sounds like, well, every movie you've had, like, really, like, no, no, it happens really rarely, but when it happens, it's magical.
Okay. So one of your new films, The Haunting of the Lady Jane, is being done internationally. Is there anything you're doing special with that, just because of the general state of the world, or?
Well, I mean, the movie was postponed. We were supposed to shoot it, gosh, I can't remember now. August, I think we were supposed to shoot it. And yeah, then it was just, I mean, who could believe that that was going to happen? Um, but no, I'm very excited about that movie. A, because the film, the script is fantastic. It's impeccable. And I love ghost stories. I love haunting gothic tales. I just love them. I like historical stuff. I think I like Dr. Quinn because of the historicalness of it. Oh, I like everything. I like sci-fi. I'm just, yeah. I guess, but anyway, I like Lady Jane because of the gothic nature of it, and it's a beautiful and sad story, and it's a tragic tale, and the characters are very well developed, and so I love that. The wonderful thing about the Haunting of Lady Jane, which I found extraordinary, is the filmmaker did my backstory for me. Like I said, I usually sit with a script and try to figure out why, do some psychology on the character, and try to figure out how the character ended up where they were and why, and so on and so forth. And Yildirim is maybe one of the only directors that gave me the backstory that he wrote the character with. So he's made my work, there's no guessing game for me. I can just sink into the beautiful depths of this really multifaceted character that I play, and I play the lead character's wife. And the lead character is a boatsman travels along the English canals. And if you've ever been to England, the English canals have a thing. I mean, you know, I've never been to Venice, but the English canals are, I imagine, quite different. There are lots of rural little towns and lots of just open space and old bridges and rusty quays, and it's just full of atmosphere. Just there, it's full of atmosphere. And I actually have I went to I took a canal boat when I was 16, 15, with my best friend at the time and her family in England, and all sorts of crazy things happened. So part of my love of the canals has to do with this sort of tortured childhood summer that I had when I was a kid with Maura Campbell. How fun.
Mm.
But yeah, um, I'm really excited to shoot this movie. And also, I happen to have a British passport. All my father's side of the family is British. So I feel very at home in England, and I feel very at home with the Brits. I'm Canadian as well, so I guess there's that too. Um, so yeah, I just like that unspoken, spoken, sort of mysterious thing, and this movie has it in spades. It's going to be beautiful, and it's going to be, yeah. Uh, uh,
Uh,
he's known to surround himself with really dedicated actors, so I think it's going to be an experience. Yeah.
okay. So some of the other films you've done, like you're coming up like Phobias and Possession of Mia Moss, and all of these films with like big all-star genre casts. Like, what do you look forward to with working with other talented people with resumes like yourself?
Sure. Okay. Well, yeah. See, I made a list because I always forget people. I have to put my glasses on really quickly just to see who's who. So, so let me see. Okay. So we talked about that. So, there's something called the Last American Horror Anthology, and that is by Michael S. Rodriguez, and it's an anthology, and I am in the anthology Dark Lullaby, and I think that is playing at shoot, I didn't write out where. Look it up. Michael Rodriguez and Dark Last American Horror Anthology. I think it's playing somewhere tonight. And that is really fun because I did that movie with a dear friend of mine. See, that's not true. I make friends all the time. Donna Hamblin. I know, it's funny. Donna Hamblin and I have been in we've been in three Jeff Schneider movies together. And then we got to play together in this short called Dark Lullaby, and Michael Rodriguez has it down. Like, he is a master. He just knows how to get it done. I mean, he's got a lot of experience. He's prolific. He produces a lot of stuff, and this is no exception. It's a chilling short. And Donna and I had so much fun. Donna Hamlin and I had so much fun doing that. So there's that. And then let's see. So I just finished shooting Blood Covered Chocolate with Monty Light, and in fact, I can't remember her name, but I was just watching. Oh my gosh, what was I watching? I was watching, like, this is so fun when it happens. You just finished shooting something, and then the next day you see the person that you were in the scene with on TV in another show, and you're like, I know her. We just worked together. It was so good. Um, Golly, wait, what's her name? And
Um,
let me, Blood
Deborah
Covered.
Lamb.
No, no, no. I adore Deborah, and I did finish
Well,
working with
I'm
Deborah.
just
But
saying,
I finished.
I'm trying to do like with you. I'm trying to
Yeah,
like
yeah.
think of
No, no,
who's in
no.
the
It's the
cast. And
girl that. Yeah. Let me just think a second. What it is? The thing that I saw her in. Oh, I can't remember the name of the TV show. Is it The Sweet Thing or something? Anyway,
um, yeah, I'm trying to think of who I know is in the cast, and that's not helping. Because that was like one of the first names that came to mind was Deborah.
yeah, no, Deborah's got a great part in it. Deborah and I did work together, and we it was a fantastic scene. Deborah's a really wonderful actress, really, really good. Everybody on that shoot, Michael Klug, everybody on that shoot. Monty, like I'm getting to the point now where I'm really lucky that I can be more selective about the kinds of movies that I do, and I've been getting really lucky that my instincts have been really good. Because I've been working with some amazing people recently. Monty Light is extremely talented. He's visionary. You know, he's got a vision of the film that's unique, and he was really on top of it. And that's going to be it's going to be fantastic. It's a bit of a vampire story. It's a twist on a vampire story. It's a little takeoff on Nosferatu. It's about a drug addict who, you know, becomes a vampire, or does he? You know, that's really great. And then, okay, so there's that, but I just finished shooting that. And then there's Tin Roof. Can't forget Tin Roof. I'm so excited to do Tin Roof. So Rebecca Reinhardt and Rob Mello have written Tin Roof, and I met Rebecca Reinhardt. She sight unseen offered me a part on The Embalmers, and I went and did The Embalmers with Rebecca Reinhardt, and got hooked into this fabulous group of people that are they're indie filmmakers, and they help each other. Everybody's in it together, and they're just so it's really family time, and I was lucky enough to be invited into that family, and she made me audition for this one, which was good. It was good. Sometimes it's good to audition because then you have to really carve out your thoughts about the character early, and then the director lets you know, yes, that's what I want. And it sometimes it's better to audition because then everybody can talk about the direction of the character early on. Although I don't want to say that I prefer being offered the job, but sometimes an audition is okay. Don't always make me audition. I'm not very good at auditioning, but because I loved Rebecca and Rob, and I felt comfortable, and I felt like they were just trying to see if I could stretch to that character. But so we're going to be shooting Tin Roof, and you can find it on Facebook. The best way to find out what I'm doing is to look me up on IMDb, because as you can see, I've got a list of things. I don't want to forget anybody. I'm lucky enough to have like back to back projects coming up, and but I do want to mention a couple of them. But look me up on IMDb under my name, and you can always keep current with things. And it also helps me out if you look me up on IMDb. It actually helps me. So if you want to give me a present, look me up on IMDb. But so I'm going to be doing Tin Roof in October, and what's fun about that is that it's a summer camp movie, and I've never been to summer camp, and Rebecca Reinhardt has never been to summer camp, and we're shooting at a real summer camp, and we're going to be at the location 24/7, and so it's going to be summer camp. I'm like so excited because when I was a kid, everybody went to Camp Canawana, and my parents didn't send me. Of course, they couldn't, but I didn't know at the time, and so I would like spend lonely summers in the park by myself, while dreaming of my friends at Camp Canawana. So I'm really lucky that I get to live one of my childhood dreams. So that's Tin Roof, and then and The Embalmers is coming out soon, and that's really exciting. Um, and I just got cast in a movie called Deadly Dealings, and it's Adam Freeman is the director. And now you get to see how tiny the world is, because it's through Jake Zelch, the director of Mia Moss and the Krampus Carol, that he hooked me up with Adam Freeman, and Adam is doing a fantastic uh, horror movie. It's definitely in the horror genre, but it's going to be very glittery. It's going to be he's got you know, it's going to be very stylistic, and he's really excited about it. I'm excited about it too. I play you know, a perfect blonde mom. You know, I play a little bit of a, what do you call them, a Stepford wife type of mom. So I'm excited about that. That's going to be really fun. And I'm shooting that in May, so there's not much to say about it yet, but I just got cast in that, and I'm really excited about it. Um, and then the other thing, Phobias. So Phobias is with Key 13 Films, and they're really prolific. And they are, you should check out Key 13. If you like horror, you should check out Key 13 Films. Find them, Google them, Key 13 Films. I hope that's how it is. But Matt L. Anderson and Matt Burns are the producers, writers of Phobias, and Phobias is extremely. I play a dastardly scientist. Uh, I think her name is Kelly though, which is really weird. Like, she's got a very easy name to. She's got a very American name, but I always think of her as German in my head because I don't know. I'm typecasting myself, and I'm being a little naughty that way. But she is interested in people's dreams, and so she creates scenarios where people have to, their nightmares, where people have to confront their nightmares, and they're building the sets, and all of the special effects are going to be, what do you call it? Not digital. So the opposite of digital, they're going to be built.
Right. Practical.
All the monsters are going to be real. Um, and they have some really scary, wonderful, nightmarish things planned. So that is, uh, yeah, that's going to be really fun, and that is coming up October. No, September. Oh, I got my dates all screwed up. But anyway, this is going to be a really fun year. And then some things I really did want to mention. Thank you for letting me go on and on and on.
Yeah, go ahead.
This Sunday, and next Sunday, March 28th, I run a cabaret show called Was ist das? WASISTDAS question mark. You can find us on Facebook. We also have a website, but find us on Facebook. You'll see the event page and stuff. And once a month, I run a cabaret outside of my house, and I've been doing this for this cabaret. I've been doing it in various incarnations for coming up on 5 years now. And our last cabaret show was in November, or we had to cancel November. It was October. So because in honor of all the COVID restrictions and stuff, we didn't want to get people together. So this is our first one in a long, long time. And normally we do it in the garden. I have a stage in the garden, and it's fantastic, and we have a band. But since COVID time, so basically for the past year, what we've been doing is we've been doing it in the garden, and all of the neighbors come, and everybody that knows the address comes, and they stand outside the fence and watch us, and it's so magical and so fun. And our next one is March 28th, and the reason I mention it is because we also do a live a live stream of it. So if cabaret is your thing, uh, tune into that. You'll also find that on my Facebook page, all of the promo about that. And then another thing I'm really excited about is I belong to a group called, for lack of a better word, it's the idiot. What do we call it? It's the Idiot Workshop, and I've been taking classes at the Idiot Workshop for, oh God, years and years and years. I hate to say how many years because I'm still not a perfect clown, um, but the Idiot Workshop has put together something called Operation Project. And just to give you an idea of it, one of the things that they did, we're trying to do art that is socially active. We're trying to, you know, um, motivate through art. And one of the wonderful things that they did, I wasn't actually involved in this one, but I just loved the whole idea of it, and I saw them do it. Um, is they took a bus, an old bus, and they kind of painted democracy on it, and they would deliberately break this bus down in an intersection. And this was just like when people were, this was before the election, this was during like the pre to the election. And so this bus would break down, and they would get out of the bus, and they'd go, help, help, we need help with this bus. And they would get people pushing the democracy bus across the street at a busy intersection. I just love that whole idea, the whole metaphor of it. What an act of genius. Anyway, so I'm lucky enough to be part of this group, and we're thinking up different kinds of things, uh, different kinds of moving art pieces that are socially responsible. We're very involved with Black Lives Matter, and we're local to Los Angeles, so we're very interested in the politics there. Um, there's a lot of pushback. Obviously, there's two sides, and one side thinks this. So we're on the side of Black Lives Matter, I have to say. And so look out for us, because we have some really fun projects coming up that'll be interesting. Um, Gosh, okay. So I said the idiot group, and I hope I haven't forgotten anybody. but that's all I can think of. Please go to IMDb and look up, because I'm sure I've forgotten something in someone and I feel horrible about it.
Okay, so all right, so lastly, since this is Women in Horror Month, do you have any special message for any woman that wants to get into the industry?
Oh, wow. Some girl from Iran sent me an email recently, and she told me about her loneliness, and she told me that she wanted to be an actor, and she asked me for the same advice. And I don't know. All I can say is, like, I can't be responsible for the decisions you make in life, but if you have a passion, be it acting or anything, and I think well, merde, what's his name? Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey said it so well in an address to a college, but it's basically, he had a father who was a sax player who gave it up to have children, and his life was a misery. I mean, things didn't work out anyway. He still lost his job. It was still a struggle. They still lived in and out of, homelessness. And he gave all of this up to give his family a stability that they never actually got. And that fed Jim Carrey's understanding, and mine as well, which is, you know, if you're passionate about something, uh, pursue it with your heart and your soul. Don't let other people tell you that you're not worthy. I've been kicked out of theater school. I have been, there are groups of people that are not fond of me, that think every idea that I have that is stupid. Uh, there are people that adore me and think I'm brilliant, and they don't agree. People don't agree. You're never ever going to please everybody. What is important is that you have a passion, and believe in yourself if you do. And whatever that passion is, if it's painting or storytelling or house building, or, you know, my sister created a place called the Love School. Oh my gosh, she put, and it's a place for children from the age of 0 to whatever to flourish. And she believes so deeply in education at a young age. She created this school, and she's created the program and the whole curriculum out of nothing, out of her heart, out of her thinking. I mean, obviously she has an education and all of that, so she's got that kind of guidance. But what I'm saying is that she struggled for years, near starvation, to create this program, and she stuck with it and stuck with it and stuck with it. And, years later, like, there were years where they didn't know if they were going to be able to pay the rent for the school, but they stuck with it. And people that believed in the program stuck with it as well. Needless to say, she's doing incredibly well, and now she has a waiting list of 76 people. But I saw her grow that idea. She just couldn't let go of it, even when her children were going, just let go of it, we don't really need to do this. She was like, I can't. So if you have that kind of passion, I do believe that eventually, if you stick with it, you will get to the place that you're supposed to be. It may not be the place that you thought you were going to be. I thought I was going to work with Martin Scorsese. It's never happened. I've never even gotten within a mile of Martin Scorsese. But I had a dream, and it took its own shape, and I just kept saying yes. And you know, we all make mistakes. Forgive yourself. I've done some really stupid things, and I ruined my career on a number of occasions, and I probably could have done better than I did do, because of a number of factors in my control, making mistakes. You're going to make them. Forgive yourself, and just really pursue the thing that you could have chosen may not have offered anything better. You might have still been homeless, struggling to keep your family alive. So make a choice that you won't regret.
Well, much like me
That
for
was
not regretting to interview you.
Sorry for the fact that I'm so wordy and long. I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries. So, well, guess that will conclude us for today. Thank you so very much for doing this. I'm glad we finally got together to do it.
Oh, thank you. Yes, me too. I know.
Yeah.
See? Yeah, we just kept trying. All right.
So,
Have a
yeah,
wonderful
thank you. Yeah, thank you again.
day.